Greetings! I welcome you to my humble abode. You might be asking yourself, what the hell am I doing? What sort of animations are these? All of this will be explained soon, but for now, it's time for you to enter this acid trip. Ah yes, alien talking simulators. There was an interesting release back in 1988 of a game called Captain Blood, developed by ERE Informatique and published by Exos. It came out on pretty much every personal computer possible, even for ones I haven't heard of before, like the Thomson MO. Now, I didn't really get that far in the game, and in fact it seems like that is quite common, because this is a very difficult game. However, its concept is more than worth mentioning, especially as it helps set up this game that I'm covering. Bob Morlock is a game designer who created a sci-fi video game, and then ends up in a spaceship within the game. He then gets cloned 30 times. He then finds 25 of them, but 5 still remain. He must find and destroy them before he loses his own life, as each portion of a vital fluid that sustains his life gets taken as each clone was created. You then enter tons and tons of planets, and you have to speak to aliens. This is where the frustrating yet fascinating part comes in. You have over 150 icons representing simple words. You use those to translate what aliens are saying, and then to communicate with them. However, as each alien speaks differently, you have to figure out how to speak to them in different ways. Now, this is why I couldn't get too far into it, and I'm sure you can see why. So, let us now jump to 1994. There's an infamous company named Cryo. Seriously, look them up. They have a few praised games, but pretty much every release of theirs is probably even more polarizing than Deadly Premonition. This actually sticks with the plot of the first game quite well, but it goes in the weirdest direction possible. It seriously isn't too far-fetched to call this an acid trip. So, what did people think of this? Is this a fun acid trip? Or is it one that requires you to go to the emergency to be sedated? Stay tuned to find out.
Who's that pointing and clicking his way to internet fame? You might be a little too cool for your mainstream kind of games, but if you like retro consoles and obscure PC stuff, then you might just be hip enough for this pretentious hipster.
So how does one continue this adventure? It, well, jumps you in out of nowhere. And well, it's tough to explain just how this is. Let me just show you. Oh cool, this is an interesting intro by Cryo. What can this game be? Oh, that's how it looks? Sure. If you think that is weird, we're just getting started. Let's go into the build-up before reaching the other world. You play as Commander Blood. You can fix tons of problems and are paid handsomely for it. You then take part in one of the biggest missions in the universe, to discover the truth. Bob Morlock is still alive, but is the oldest being in the universe. He founded a gigantic business called the Canary Corporation. He built millions of employees for it, and the production costs are below zero. He's done it all. He was an artist, poet, humanist, man of letters, adventurer, crooner swooned over by armies of women, pretty much anything. Of course, he was a human, I guess. I mean, this is how he looks, and this is how he talks. They obviously have to go through other means to keep him alive, and that is freezing him in his unusually long lifetime survival bunker. They wake him up for 20 minutes each year on his birthday, and he blows out the candles on the cake and signs the company's financial papers. Still, with his age, he can still be a victim to the good old existential crisis. The end is near, and the metaphysical concerns are fascinating him deeply. What is the meaning of life? The central truth of existence? Where does he really come from? What is the ultimate sensation? The absolute hubba hubba, second to only total reset? Where can he get those answers? Well, from traveling through time and seeing the Big Bang. How good will witnessing the Big Bang be? His company have calculated the sensations provided and has scored an 18 on the Crump neural scale, which normally stops at 9. Basically, it's like having 1,976,574.33 orgasms at once, or 45,653,543 billion spuds, which is an off-world peanut, swallowed at the same time. Of course, do not try this at home. The scientists of his company then developed a black hole called the Odd Land. When you locate and pass through the black hole, you journey millions of years back in time, and then get closer to seeing the birth of the universe. He became a passenger on Ark, which is the best spaceship out there, and he's hired by, well, you, Commander Blood. You are beyond technology's cutting edge, because you're 100% bio. Your energy levels are maintained by ingestion of glucides, lipids, and proteins. Your organs include a pulmonary thorax, kidneys, liver, and a heart. You have arms, legs, and a head with a fully functioning brain. You even have a sex organ. You have a down market memory because of budget, but you have a very expensive computer system which offers you complete mortality and a built-in genetic aging device, which includes post-death decomposition. Bob then awakens during his 800,432nd birthday in the year 4,325,543 AD, and he reveals his final great ambition. He wants you to take command of the Ark, aided by Hunk, the onboard bio-consciousness. He will then be in a cryo box, and you are ordered to not wake him up except in an emergency. Olga, the ship's biotranslator, knows every language in the universe and will be with you. Well, it shows that this will at least be easier than Captain Blood. So, you saw how weird that intro was. That was actually your TV set, which you can access at any time. You also have your main menu, which includes your phone and the cryo box. You have a navigation system, and then you have the way to leave your ship. So, you start off with a phone call giving you the heads up. So you basically visit a planet, but how do you get on there? Any guesses? Why, you ride on a dolphin and go down a water pipe. I mean, duh. Of course, it is that obvious. You then interact with the robots or aliens, which are a mix of DOS-era graphics, puppets, or people wearing costumes. It's all dialogue choices. If you screw up, you can simply go back in and repeat. The only goal is to go through as many options to learn about the races, and eventually get an item or coordinates for another planet. Some species will want items in exchange for info, but most of the time you get them simply from talking to them. I know, this is where it sounds boring, but that's where this game shines. Seeing those awkward animations, and especially the dialogue, are so absurd that I was always into it. The only advice I will give is to click on the dialogue options more than once. Repeat the option until the dialogue repeats. I was so lost early on because I didn't do that. Of course, people can get stuck sometimes. They do have a hint system on this. You then access Scooter Joe in the cryo box after you collect him. Honk requires bionium to give you hints. You need to collect them yourself. How do you do that? Well, Scooter Joe takes you to this. I guess this requires an explanation, huh? I'll do my best. So basically you hold the left mouse button to move the hand forward. You then collect these strange triangles. I don't even know what to call them. You collect them one at a time, hoping not too many enemies bump into you, or cause you to let go of the triangle. You then gotta take it to the stomach of either the pink or blue stingray. You need to collect 3 of those to get 1 hint. Fortunately, or unfortunately, you don't need to use the hints too often. Most of it just comes down to finding the right planet and dialogue to do, so a lot of it can just be simple trial and error. The gameplay of this may sound odd, but I've realized that this follows the formula of another Cryo game, Lost Eden. It's kinda tough to explain, as this lacks the pseudo-strategy element of Lost Eden, but it contains the similar gameplay of going to different species and interacting with them in a certain order and going back and forth between them. The music is fantastic on top of that. When Honk starts speaking to you, it seems like there's only one sound effect at a time that can be played, but it adds to the surreal and absurdist nature of this. So, how are the species? How is the dialogue? Honestly, words cannot explain it. I'll just have to show a compilation. Let you see it for yourself. Hope you enjoy this adventure. The thing is, these are pretty much only from around the first half of the game. A lot of this comes down to a surprise factor, and showing too many of them will lose that, rendering your playthrough of this useless. I want to give you enough clips to show how fun this will be, but not enough to make you think you've seen enough to not play it. I believe that can conclude this. The acid trip peak has passed by, and it's time for you to return to the real world. Hope this wasn't a bad trip for you.